Now, the next step to this plan is we're going to make, get all that milk, get all that juice out. We're going to make homemade English muffins next, and we're going to put our homemade butter right on them. Now, you talk about right from scratch. How can you beat that? There's our butter. So what we do is we put the top on it, get the air out of it, seal it. You got homemade butter. Now, how can you beat that? You can't. And the good thing about that right there is you use your KitchenAid and you made butter in your kitchen. Now, let's get to those homemade English muffins. I got to clean this mess up, and we're going to use the KitchenAid, and we're going to make the dough for our muffins. All right, now that that butter's done, look at that. Oh, my God, look at that butter. That's awesome. It's a pale yellow color and everything. We are going to use that butter for making homemade English muffins. And I needed a griddle for this, so I went down to one of my favorite hardware stores here on this beautiful island of Martha's Vineyard, Shirley's Hardware. I got to stop in there and talk to Jesse, actually, but I picked myself up a cast iron griddle, okay? Now, let me show you what it looks like. It's awesome. These things are awesome. It's got a flat side. It's heavy. You got to be careful and read the directions on it for treating it and everything, but it's pre-treated from the cast iron factory. It's flat on this side. It actually has a catch for grease over here for doing your bacon and sausage, and you flip your eggs on it and whatnot. These things are awesome. We're going to be doing English muffins on it to brown them up, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But then on this side, you can do steak and burgers on this thing. And all you can do with this thing is put it on top of the stove, turn your burners on quick on low, and bring this baby up to temperature. Now, I'll show you that in a minute. We aren't going to do that yet, but I'll show you that when we get ready for it. For the English muffins, these are homemade English muffins, and you're going to need some flour, unbleached flour. You're going to need a little bit of sugar. You're going to need some quick yeast. You're going to need a little bit of salt, some measuring cups, of course, your homemade butter that you made, some plastic wrap for covering the dough with, a little bit of oil. You're going to use some vegetable oil, and you're going to need some cornmeal to put down. And I'll show you just how we're doing it. And of course, you're going to use your KitchenAid. Can't beat the KitchenAid. You're going to need a dough hook with your aid. Comes with it. Came with my kit. You're going to need a mixing paddle. Okay? This is awesome. Show you how to put this together. So we're going to start off by getting us some flour in there, and I got to put 2 1/4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. So let's take this mixer right off of here, okay? All right, we're going to take this right off of the KitchenAid, and we're going to start mixing our English muffins up. So we need a measuring cup, okay? We're going to need the 1 cupper, and we're going to need the 1/4 cupper, because we're going to put 2 1/2 cups of our flour in here, okay? We want them level. Make them off nice and level. There's 1. Level. 2. And let's go to the 1/4. And 1/4. There you go. And we're going to get us some sugar in there. And we're going to be putting, I use a teaspoon and a tablespoon there. We're going to use a half a tablespoon of sugar. Get a half a tablespoon in there. PapaTucks Butter. How do you beat that? There's a half a tablespoon of sugar. We're going to use 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So we just want 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt in here. Just about like that. I could have done that in my paw. Get them out the way. We're going to put and we're going to use 1 1/4 teaspoons, let me get that out of there, of instant yeast. 1 1/4. You don't want to put too much in there. You don't want to put too little in there. You want that perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be putting some butter into this too. But first, I want to stir this up. Just like this. Okay? Just like this. Just stir it all together. Alrighty? Just like that. We're going to put it right into the mixer here, but let's clean some of this flour out. We're going to add some milk to it. Now the milk, I got some whole milk I'm going to put into this, okay? Now you can also use buttermilk. Now buttermilk gives it a nice flavor, okay? But I used buttermilk last time I make them, so I'm just going to use some whole milk into it. So we're going to add the whole milk right to this. All right. Now 3/4 of a cup of milk, and like I said, you can use buttermilk too, but there's 3/4 of a cup. Now you can add a little bit as it's mixing up if you need it, okay? And we'll determine that when we start mixing. You're going to put 1 tablespoon of PapaTucks homemade butter in there. Look at that. Oh my God, is that ever good butter? So we're going to get 1 tablespoon in there of butter, and that's it. We're going to mix that right into it. Okay? It's always best to have your butter up to room temperature when you put that in there. Let me put that right up here. We're going to get this right in on the mixing pad. Okay? Lock it in place. And we're going to put our mixing paddle on there. And what you're going to do, you bring that baby down, lock it. We're going to mix this on a medium speed for 10 minutes. So let's take our timer and set it at 10 minutes. Now, you might want to go just a little bit more. You're going to do an elastic test on this, and I'll show you that after we get up to that point, okay? So let's start mixing this baby up. Okay, that's mixing up real nice. Now remember, this part doesn't mix for 10 minutes. When we do our dough hook, it's 10 minutes. All we want to do right now is just mix this. Now this is a little bit too powdery, so I'm going to add a little bit of milk to this, okay? Not a lot, maybe 1/4 teaspoon. And we're going to finish mixing that all up. Our dough is mixed up. So let's get this baby off of here. We now have a dough. So that's mixed up. I'm going to put that right back in there. Now this is going to need to knead. You can do this by hand too if you don't have the KitchenAid. But if you don't have a KitchenAid, go get one because these are awesome. We're going to put our dough hook on here. Lock it in place. Easy as that. Put it down. Lock the paddle. And we are going to put it on a medium. And then we're going to turn it up. We want to get our speed right. Got it right about there. And my setting actually is on number 2 on my mixer. And I'm just going to let this knead. This is going to go for about 10 minutes, okay? We get this all kneaded for 10 minutes in my KitchenAid, and I'm going to look at it, and it's going to sort of like look elastic. Then I'm going to take a piece off of this, and I'm going to try to stretch it a little bit. And if it stays together, it's ready. If it breaks when you stretch it very thinly and it breaks apart, you'll know as you do it. But it's going to need some more kneading, and you put it in for another minute. So it takes in between 10 and 12 minutes. So let's get this dough all kneaded up. All right, our timer just went off, so let's check this dough. So all we're going to do is take a little piece out of there. Oh, this is ready. I can tell right now. Oh my God, is that ever ready? So all we're going to do is take a little piece out of there, form a little ball, flatten it out, paper thin it, and stretch it a little bit. See this? Look at that. And it is not breaking apart, okay? So that's ready. So what we're going to do, kick this baby back, open her up, get our dough off of here, and we're going to form this into a ball. And then we're going to take an oiled dish, okay, and we're going to put, look at that, just form a ball. Don't pat it too hard, but just form a ball with it. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little dish, okay? We're going to put a little bit of vegetable oil in there. Not a lot, just a little. Maybe about a capful, about like that, very little. And all you're going to do is take that in there, and you're going to roll this around, okay? Just roll it around and get it covered. Cover the dough with the oil. And I used vegetable oil on this. Then we're just going to let that set. What we're going to do is I'm going to put plastic on this and just let this go for about an hour and a half and let it rise. I'm going to put my plastic top on there and we're just going to let this rise. It's going to basically double in size. And then I'll show you what to do when we do that. Now this is going to be at room temperature, and if you want this to go just a little bit quicker, heat your oven up and use a glass dish. Heat your oven up to about 100. Turn it right off. Open the door and put it right in there and just let it rise in the oven like that too. But make sure you turn your oven off and use a glass dish. So let me get a top on.